वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर। आप सब ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ, ਆਦਾਬ and shalom. These days, well, the world has always moved at its own pace, but now the current world we are living in, we already had the computers, we already have the smartphones in our hands, which are basically these days, these are just the computers. Except that now you carry it in your hand. And now we are moving into AI, and that will be really interesting because a lot of things are actually being, as we talk, designed and down the road will be implemented using AI, which are going to be, people are scared because there are going to be plenty of jobs which are going to get eliminated and shifted. Both things are going to happen. It is just like when it happened with the computers when they came in. But before we go into that conversation and some other conversations, AI definitely is something I'm still doing some more research on it, and probably I will do one of the show devoting substantial time to an AI, which is very important. But in the meantime, don't forget to send me an email at justour@gmail.com, because it is always good to hear your questions, which I do get emails, even though a few people do it, but it is important. We need to move along with the society if we want to stay within the race. I was told, and I always tell the kids, that if you do not step into the field, you are already lost. Game is over. You have to compete. Doesn't matter even if you lose. Even losing, you will learn something. And the biggest teacher in anybody's life is the failures, because then you start assessing what happened, where it happened, how it happened, what was your role in it, and how you played your role into it. So all those things, they add up. So last show I did talk about the ICE and how it is. Let me say, like I always do, freedom of speech and freedom of expression should not be compromised at all, doesn't matter what. When the universities were canceling the shows of some of the people who were so-called rightists, because there was a pressure from the left side, and they will cancel the lecture or the program from the people who belong to the right thinking. Not right means correct thinking, but right thinking, extreme right thinking or extreme left were opposing the extreme right people. So because of that, now we are seeing the repercussions of that. We now have in the White House President Donald Trump, who is so much into the right, and the people he is employing, they are undoing everything, including the freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And also, they are literally, suffocating the down the stream innovations, down the stream what could the life would have been had those innovations, which are right now in the, some of them are in the pipeline, some of them they probably would be if the things were not changed, but things, they have been changed. I was looking at one of the article and reading it, and one gentleman, he made a statement. He said the difference between going into Europe and other countries for innovation and going to United States for innovation, the difference is that in United Nations universities like Columbia, Harvard, Yale, University of California, Santa Barbara, Berkeley, all these institutions, NYU, Princeton, Penn State, George Washington University, I can go on and on, that if you go to those universities, you actually study and compete with the best brains from the world, not from just the United States. But if you go to Europe or any other country, you will be competing with the best brains from that particular area. So now the brain drain actually is happening. Those people who come from India or other so-called third world countries, they understand what brain drain is and what is the cost of that brain drain. The gentleman who actually created Flipkart in India, he studied here in United States, but because he could not get a green card to stay here, he went back to India and he established Flipkart. And look at that, $1 billion business which he's doing there, which is a loss to United States. Same way, there are going to be losses down the road, and it is only a matter of time when those losses will get, attention of the media, the main media, and on the social media. Right now, nobody's talking about it because you got to give a credit to President Trump. He is good at deflecting the issues. He really is. Look at Epstein files. All of a sudden, it was center of everything. Then what happened? He just announced the tariffs, and now the people are talking about the tariffs, and then he ordered in Texas to do the remapping so that the Republicans can win maximum number of seats in there. Forget about the Voting Rights Act, which was passed about 60 years ago. I think tomorrow it will be 60 years or something like that. This week it will be 60 years. So what is happening? What are the effects of all this? That is what I'm going to talk about today, and how some of the people who actually are in power in US Senate and they are leaving, why they are planning to leave, what happened, US Congress, what happened. It was not like that. I still remember, the biggest immigration deal which was done between the then President Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, who was Speaker of the House. Tip O'Neill was Democrat, Ronald Reagan was the Republican. But they came to a deal and they literally concluded and implemented, and a lot of people who are citizens now, there are families here, they actually benefited from that deal, and overall United States benefited from that deal. But let me first go over that ICE thing again, some of the things which you need to be very careful about. Can they make an arrest without a warrant? Yes, they can. But then it says under certain circumstances. So that's where the abuse takes place. Okay? So I want you to go and Google. In the Google title, you should be what is and is not legal when ICE officers make an immigration arrest. Right here. It says that should be your title. It will tell you exactly what you need to know about it. Can officers make arrest at a private business or home? Like I mentioned last time, if you let them in, then yes. If you don't, then they cannot. They have to show a warrant for search of the premises. And so you are entitled to not to open the door, even though they are smashing the windows and pulling the people out of the cars in front of their young kids. And those people they are pulling out, a lot of them, they are actually legally here. Some of them were even the citizens. I was reading about this Hispanic girl who actually was picked up. She was a citizen, born here, grew up here in California, but she was, snapped from the street. And she ended up spending time behind the bars. We'll talk about that and the rest of the things on the ice right after the break. Welcome back to Mainstream. Do ICE officers have to identify themselves? There is no legal requirement for that. That's why they hide their faces, they hide their names and everything. That is something so surprising, which I have been talking, and I will go on talking till it is one way or the other, it is cleared up that how you're not being kidnapped. The girl which I am talking about was the girl, she was taken off the street, thrown into a van and taken, and later on, one of the officer who was checking everything after a couple of days when she was released, or a couple of weeks, made one of the entry that she is legal, she is a citizen, and she should not have been picked up. And one of the reasons she got picked up was because he looked different, means not white. That's the issue at the core issue these days about all these raids is that the whites who ruled this country for so long ruthlessly by having black people as slaves, even the immigrants, Chinese, Indians, railroad workers. My great-grandfather from my maternal side, he lived in California before he went back. I still remember in late 60s and early 70s, he will take us, around to different melas in the villages. And why he went back? Because he was not allowed to bring his family. He was not allowed to get married. He was not allowed to buy property. He was not allowed to do anything except do the labor, earn the money, and send it back home, and some of the other things. So that transformation of United States into that non-white, where the whites feel like they are privileged just because they are white, and that privilege is being taken away. For example, we don't need to go much into detail, but look at the medicines, right? The allopathy is about 100 years or so. Yeah, some of the surgeries and stuff like that, it was invented a little bit earlier, but majority of the medications were invented during the last 100 years. But look at the Chinese and Indian Ayurvedic. They are around for thousands of years. And a lot of people, they use it and they benefit from it. And you are looking at one of the person who does, it's a very small thing. You are going to, a lot of people, they are going to laugh at it. Before I go to the bed, I use mustard oil. I apply it to my nostrils and to my belly button. Interestingly, my younger son, who was having allergies, he was on prescription drugs, Allegra, and then 25, 50, 75. And I told him that start using mustard oil, which he did. Yeah, my wife at that time did not agree with me. My elder son, who is a doctor, he does not agree with me, still does not agree with me. But my younger son swears by it. So now we are where that mustard oil, whenever he goes anywhere, he takes it. So the benefit, allergies, during the peak allergy seasons, he has to take a very minor over-the-counter drug to counter the allergy effects. Otherwise, he doesn't need anything prescribed. Some of the people I mentioned, to do it, they are having benefits. Of course, I am having too. Applying mustard oil to your belly button during the winter, your lips will not dry. You use chapstick, your lips are like still mess up and this and that. You do that, it will not happen. So try that. Those are Ayurvedic medications. So those kind of privileges, these people are feeling like, okay, we can make money here. So to make money, we have to veer the people off of all these domestic treatments, which are household treatments. The people are aware of it, wear them away. While I was growing up in India, we used to have neem tree, nim da drakht jinu assi kende hunde si. We'll get hurt, we'll grab the leaves from the neem, boil it, use that as antiseptic to wash the wound, and then sometime if it is really bad, then use same leaves, put them on, put up a bandage, and within a couple of days you will be fine. But then you will not be able to make money by selling antiseptic creams and this and that. Anyway, so that is the whole purpose of ICE these days, okay? Hiding their identity, putting on the masks, yeah, it is not clear, but when it comes out to that they do not have to give their ID, I think masks automatically are getting covered, okay? Can they arrest a person who is applying for legal status? This is another gray area. And I have said before, I'm repeating it again. Please, please, please consult your attorneys. Some of the attorneys our people hire, they are not even attorneys, but they think they are attorney. They need to have actual attorney who can go into the court and have arguments with the judge, put up your case, fight your case, okay? Does ICE have to share where someone is being held? Yeah, they have to, but it takes a couple of days before they update it on their data system. And for that time period, it could take a couple of days, up to a week. You are in limbo. You don't know where your person is. You could be thinking that your person is somewhere here in the United States, while that could be somewhere in El Salvador in that one of the prison. Can ICE detain children? Again, it depends on the circumstances. Can ICE officers use force in making an arrest? Even though they are trained not to use the force, but they are using the force, a lethal force, okay? Using the tear gas to make the congregation disappear, and also not only that like I mentioned earlier, breaking the car windows, dragging the people from their cars, dragging them on the street, throwing them in the those unmarked vehicles and all that. That is all being done in the name of cracking down on immigration. And why it came to this point, we should understand why it happened, it came to this point. Still, Obama is the one who deported maximum number of undocumented people. And there is something about the current president, Donald Trump. He hates Obama, President Obama. He really do. He's doing everything, and one of the reasons why he's targeting all these undocumented people is because, number one, he wants to beat his number. Number two, he wants to show that I'm the king. I am the one who decides. And the United States Supreme Court has been, in cahoots with the president, giving him the powers, more powers than taking away the power from executive, from the, congressional, from elected officials, and shifting it over to executive, which is the president, when he decided that, okay, American system was that, okay, Congress has the power of the purse, which means they control the purse, the money, how the money is assigned to each activity, each budget, and that money then will be spent by the president. President can hold some of the funding to spend, but cannot shift much from one department to another. But Supreme Court has given this president a clean chit on everything. Whatever he asked for, he got it. They are trying to bring in some of the laws which were written when even the guns were not on the street, and they are giving right to those laws also. So let's take a break. After the break, we'll then continue with what's going on and what to expect in the future. Welcome back to Mainstream again with Harpreet Singh Toor. Interest rates and the job reports, they came out. And after the job reports came out, President Trump actually fired statistician who actually was confirmed by 80 plus senators, US senators. And not a single senator, there are few Republicans who are talking about it that he should not have done it, but there is not much resistance to it. Why? Because everybody is afraid of him. It's in Punjabi they say, "Kaun kahe pe raniye ga tak," ja there is another saying, "Pe raja jeda the king without clothes, par keda onu kahe pe raja tu nanga hega ya." So having that kind of mindset, the tariffs are actually direct, not indirect, directly payable by the consumers. An item which you were buying 3 months ago, now they cost 15, 25, 50, even in some instances 60% higher cost. Why? Because of those tariffs. United States actually has this business model where, because of the strength of the dollar, the goods are manufactured overseas in the countries which have cheap labor. US labor, if you produce a shirt in the United States, just the labor probably will be close to $100. You will not be able to find a shirt for $25, $20, $30 in the United States. What you find here in the United States are all those clothes which are manufactured overseas, majority of them either in India, Pakistan, Vietnam, Malaysia, South American countries. Bangladesh was one of the biggest suppliers. So America has this system where labor-intensive industry is not required. You basically pay your attention to high tech. That's why United States is way ahead, or I should rather say it was way ahead. There are fields where China is now ahead of United States. And there are some fields where, believe it or not, even Russia is ahead of United States. Why? The reason again is because United States was supposed to spend on invention, and those high-tech industry come. That's why we had all these, world-class universities, and those investments are being challenged, and those are being withheld by the Trump administration to invest in Columbia University, research, Mount Sinai, Yale, Harvard. They have so many. I will give you a perfect example of this thing. A South Asian gentleman who lives across my home, his wife actually got sick, okay? and they were getting treated, but treatment was not working. Then he was referred to Columbia University, because Columbia University has a medication which is way ahead of everything which is out available in the market. He took her there, and she's doing much better. She is not going back into, how should I put it down? That his disease is not progressing at all right now, unless it is at such a slow pace, which basically is new drug which will be ultimately in the market. Those are the things which actually we are talking about. Those are the things which I'm talking about, that they will be affected. And with the tariffs, what is happening now, the manufacturing, it's not going to happen in the United States. If it happens, you will be paying more. And this is the reason why you have cheap commodities in the United States. The prices are already high. They are high. The current administration, they came in, the President Trump especially came in, that he will control the prices and the immigration. Yeah, we don't see that many people on the border now. I have to give it that. But at the same time, excuse me, but at the same time, the people are being picked up from the street, from the farms, and there are farmers actually, they are going to go in the fall season when they harvest their produce, whether it's corn or wheat. They don't have the labor, because anything which is that much labor intensive, the labor market here, the white people, they are not used to it. They can work in office, they can work with the tractors, they can work, on the wherever the cars will take them, but they cannot work in the field in a 100-degree temperature with the sun on their head, because they just faint. It was all those immigrants. They are not there. So just wait for the shock of your life, for the prices for the other items also, because they will also go up. And other thing is, which he's talking about, that tariffs will bring in the jobs. Whatever jobs he's talking about or investment he's talking about, it was already in the pipeline through Biden administration. Yes, you know, and I know that I'm one of the guy who admired Biden, but these are the facts, the cold facts which need to be verified. You guys can go and verify it. In his first term, I still remember, he gave a $700 million subsidy to a manufacturing company which used to manufacture air conditioners in Indiana to save 70 jobs, 70. So $10 million per job was given to that company, and guess what? Company took $700 million. A year later, they transferred the manufacturing to Mexico. Okay? So this is something which we need to understand when we talk about it. And also the people say he's a successful businessman. How a businessman who declared 6 bankruptcies, he bankrupted airline, he bankrupted university, he bankrupted gambling places, even Taj in Atlantic. And then he established a fund for the veterans, and ultimately what happened, those funds actually were used by him, and ultimately not really, about, I think barely 20% went to the people benefit. The rest of the 80% just disappeared in the air. So all those things, we as the person, we need to look at it. That's why when I start my show and I talk about, and when I end my show, I talk about good night and good luck, is that freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Need to fight for it. Left extreme, right extreme, let them yell at each other. Majority who is in the middle, they need to talk. They need to speak. Some of the people are talking to their elected representatives, but that is not enough. Everybody need to get in touch with them and give your mind that, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what you should be doing. If they don't listen, you have the power, the vote power. That's where voting right act is important. That's why Texas redistricting at this point is totally wrong, because redistricting always took place after 10 years, but somehow, because already they are smelling that they may not retain the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, which is the Congress. So they are already toying with the idea of creating more red district in red states. And my request is to those people who live in red states, irrespective of your affiliation of the party, you should actually be voting them out. You can bring in the new generation next time, bring in, if you want Republican policies, I have no problem with that. For the time being, kick out the people who are just blindly following the king. It is very important. You need to stand up and take a stand, and this is the moment. If you don't, the generations will pay the price. Let's take a break. After the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream. There is something which I want to discuss about what is happening in India, about the fallout between President Trump and the Prime Minister Modi. But before I do that, there is something which I just came across this article today. A Kennedy toils in Mississippi, tracing his grandfather's path. It is about the Bobby Kennedy, who was assassinated in late 60s. First, it was John F. Kennedy. He was assassinated. Then Bobby Kennedy, who was also running for the president, he was assassinated. And it is his grandson who is talking about it, that he went to the Mississippi Delta. Okay. For last 2 years, the people are getting notices that they should boil the water before they drink. For 2 years. It is the government's job. And Mississippi is red state. So how those people, they again and again vote for these people who do not really pay attention to them. This is where, when I talk about some of the things which Joe Biden did, was that he actually passed the legislation to get the high-speed internet into these neighborhoods, into these areas, to give the tax break to rich billionaires. That money is also taken out, and those people who are toiling there, spending their time, instead of having opened the tap, the water is safe, they have to go through. First open the tap, boil the water, let it cool down, and then use it. Nobody's talking about it. Those are the issues. When these are the bread and butter issues, and they need to be addressed. I just printed it. I didn't get the time to read it, but it will be really an interesting article. It came in today's New York Times. The other thing which I wanted to talk to you about India, there is something which was posted by the Indian Army on the tweet. It is dated August 5, 1971. U.S. arms worth $2 billion shipped to Pakistan since 1954. And this is a statement by Mr. V.C. Shukla, who was Minister of Defense Production at that time. And he gave this to Rajya Sabha, that how Pakistan military was being assisted by United States and China. You can read that. So why I'm reading this to you, I still, I was in college at that time, my freshman college, when 1971 war happened. I was sophomore, not the freshman, sophomore at that time, but pretty young. I got into college, I was only 15. Now the question comes in, to defend Prime Minister Modi in Lok Sabha, a letter from Mrs. Indira Gandhi to the President of United States, Richard Nixon, was read, where she was asking Richard Nixon to use his influence to, have Pakistan military control what was happening in the current Bangladesh at that time, East Pakistan. They are trying to portray Mrs. Gandhi as a weak leader, which, yeah, I'm sick, I'm still mad, I'm still upset, I will be really upset for the rest of my life about what happened in Golden Temple and other gurdwaras in 80s, 84. But at the same time, historically looking at the things, what she was doing, she was asking Americans to stop. Because what was happening, the people from Bangladesh, they were coming into India, and they were actually, because they were coming to India, to take care of them, you need the food, you need all these supplies, and that you need money for that. I still remember at that time, a special 5 paise extra was introduced for the mailing so that the money can be collected to fund the food and everything for those people who are coming to India. But they will not talk about that how Richard Nixon used profanity against Mrs. Gandhi. Why? Because even Henry Kissinger, his advisor, national security advisor, he literally, excuse my French, he used a B word for Mrs. Gandhi, literally. Okay, why? Because finally when she found out that all this diplomatic way of getting the things done, getting the needle moved, it will not work, it will not help. So she decided then to draw a line in the sand. And that line was, that's when the things started happening, and Bangladesh got created at that time. That is history. But social media and the new generation, they do not want to go into history. They just listen to real quick thing. I was just listening to one of Pakistani, he was talking about that how, India to be blamed for creating Pakistan. But when you listen to Ishtiaq Ahmed and read his book about Jinnah, that tells you every detail about how Pakistan came into existence, how he actually created this bogey about that they cannot live together. And this is something which is very disturbing because it is happening again in India, where the Muslims are not being considered as equal citizens and equal partner in the future of India. And when you start penalizing a minority, you pay a price. This is what is happening in America. Same thing is happening in a different way in India. So the progress is always based on the freedoms and equality. So that is something which I wanted to bring it up here today on the show, so that those people who have been reading about that statement from, I think it is Rijiju, one of the minister, I think he's a minister of law in the Prime Minister Modi's government, he read that letter in the Lok Sabha. So the question is not about what was the justification and how to challenge incorrectness to bring it to what is right, how to stop the wrong from being done wrong to bring it to do right. It's not there anymore. It is more about how you placate, how you make your king happy, and that's the issue. And that is something, which bothers me day in and day out. And also about, before I go, I want to touch on a little bit on Mamdani, who is probably going to be the next mayor of New York City based on the situation. I was reading about, how this article actually also came in New York Times. In Delhi and New York, Hindu right wing lines up against Mamdani. I have spoken to a couple of people who are in my circle about it, and they are not happy about Mamdani being the candidate, and they are looking for somebody else. They were looking at Cuomo, and Cuomo lost in primary. They are not happy with that, but they are not with Eric Adams either. So how they will end up voting, it is still up in the air. I don't know yet. But yes, one thing is for sure, that Mamdani has brought up the issue which I was talking about earlier, that quality of life is very important, does not matter where you live. In New York, we have both extremes. We have the billionaires, even the trillionaires, and we have the people who even cannot afford a meal on the table in the evening. And with this new legislation, the big beautiful bill, Triple B Act, that actually has cut into SNAP funding also, and that SNAP funding actually was the people who I personally, again, you also know those people who are getting SNAP funding. Those people are going to be at the end paying the price for that. There are kids who will go hungry. Why? Because there will not be enough money. And the school program where the kids, some of the parents literally in New York City and some of the other poor states, these kids actually go to school. They wait for the vacation to be over so that they can have actually a breakfast and a lunch, a real breakfast and a lunch. That is something which is at stake. At stake is the life of United States incoming generations, how they will live their life. Would they be living a better life than what we are? Or they will just be another country which could not just support their citizens, enough Medicare, enough food, enough of, to cover their head under a roof. So that is the challenge which needs to be met head on, not by just talking about it, but meeting head on, discussing openly, and let the chips fall where they fall when the elections take place. That is something which needs to be done at this point. And having said that, till next time, just think about it. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Like I always say, till next time, good night and good luck.